Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tex Messages, the Resurrection. My name is Rick Tex, the parasite of Tex Messages, the Resurrection. We thank you for joining us this evening, January 29, 2019. We got about 25 below Fahrenheit outside right now. Definitely not a pleasant day. But you know, the polar ice vortex, whatever they call it, it probably presents an opportunity for some very healthy air. Because, I mean, you got to think about it. That air up there is probably trapped there, and who knows what type of healthy nutrients it has. But if you dig down deep into the ground, there's a lot of bacteria and probably viruses and pathogens. But there's also that's usually where we get a lot of our nutrition. The well water is where we get the magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, manganese, all that stuff. So you'd think air trapped in the North Pole would probably have some type of nutritional quality as well. So that's why it's definitely important to, for me personally, I definitely made a note to try to get outside and walk around for at least an hour. But there are certain inherent difficulties in walking around in such temperatures. Yeah, you can bundle up and everything too, but you still got to face wind chills and everything like that. So it's definitely a bit of a challenge, but hopefully, generally when you face challenges and exercise common sense, good things typically happen. Not always, but usually. I mean, you can usually follow that philosophy and train of thought. So, I mean, yeah, it's very important to wear the right type of clothing as well. You got a bunch of polyester on, it might keep you warm. If you got a bunch of wool on, chances are pretty good it'll keep you warm as well. Because if you look at animals like cats, chickens, sheep, lamb, dogs, they can stay warm in the wintertime. I mean, they have to stay outside though. I mean, if a cat is indoors all the time and then it goes outside right away, it's not going to have the right coating for wintertime, especially if it's 22 below. But if the cat is outside all the time, yeah, it'll survive. As long as it stays out of the wind. That's usually the biggest thing. Because when I actually bought it, when I got my chickens a while back, you know, about a year and a half ago now, the person that I bought it from, they said they had this very beautiful hen that was multicolored and all that. And one of the problems they faced is that one night when they closed the chicken coop, they got a lot of chickens out there, a lot of hens, maybe a few hundred. They don't even know. They can't count that high. I mean, it'd be hard to count that many of them. So one night they closed the chicken coop door, and then it was one of these cold nights. It was windy, below zero, wind chills, 30, 20 below, 45, whatever. So they came out the next morning, and then they found the chicken lying in front of the door, and it was deceased. And one of the problems is the chickens, they're not really, I mean, you would think they would probably find a way to get out of the wind, but they basically have it ingrained in their head that they go to their perch, they go to the door, they wait for the door to open if it's closed, and then that's pretty much that. So before the chicken even knew it, it was probably dead. And the fact is, yeah, you can call them dumb animals and everything, but, I mean, they are creatures of instinct. They know that their safety is inside that door. So if the door is shut, they either have to make a bunch of noise to get somebody's attention or wait for it to open. Because either way, if they're outside at night, they're probably going to die through another animal consuming them. So basically the two choices the chicken had is wait for the door to open or wait for the door to open, then ultimately sit there and die, or go out and try to find some other hiding spot and then risk a chance of getting eaten by another animal, a pretty high chance. So that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, just to keep animals out of the wind. Because, I mean, they got big enough feathers and fur and everything like that to keep them pretty warm. I mean, humans, yeah, we're inside all the time, so it's we're not going to stay very warm if we go outside with a Speedo on or swim goggles and things like that and swim trunks. I mean, if you look at the weather, if you read some of the weather forecasts from down south, Atlanta, for example, they got a high of 49 degrees and they're deathly afraid of that, and they're not sure what's going to happen. And they might even dip below freezing overnight, which for the south, that's a very, very low temperature. And once you get below freezing, there's definitely a lot of bad things that can happen, especially as far as plants go. Because if leaves freeze and then they get damaged, permanently damaged possibly, so then the tree has to get them off the stem or the branch really, and sustain itself. So, because plant leaves are mostly water. I mean, the photosynthesis is sun, water, carbon dioxide, then it makes oxygen and all that, and then it grows a plant as well. So, yeah, plants definitely don't like being below freezing. Now, one of the things we're going to discuss today, ladies and neurologist Neurologists encourage a social lifestyle to fight dementia. Such things as going out with friends, singing, or challenging your brain. Now this could involve something as simple as a crossword puzzle, Sudoku, playing a synthesizer, keyboards, whatever, playing any kind of musical instruments. Maybe learning some computer language, or learning verbal or written language, or just learning new words and writing stuff. Lifestyle choices such as diet, exercise, and sleep also influence dementia. So, one of the things about dementia is your cognitive reserve is the part of your brain that it wants to use different functions to maintain ability to work well. So, if you don't really exercise a lot of parts of your brain, once certain parts start to deteriorate, you're not going to have any other parts to back up on. And Father Time catches up to all of us, but to dread it and worry about it and get sick over the fact that we're going to get old and die someday, not a very good idea. But it is a good idea just to maintain good health now, to stave off the inevitable for at least as long as possible. I mean, that's kind of the whole point. See, being healthy, you can enjoy the present, and you can also know that into the future you'll also enjoy that as well. So you think of it this way. Would you rather die a slow, lumbering, painful death, or just a sudden, instant death? So the healthier you are, the higher probability you give of dying a sudden, instant death, because if you're healthy and you live to 120 years old, you raise your chances of getting hit by a bowling ball, or getting hit by a meteorite, or run over by a train, or maybe somebody hits you with a container ship or something like that. So that would be definitely a far more honorable and less painful way to go down. So I mean, say for example, you're a very unhealthy person, you're drinking a lot of alcohol and you become an alcoholic, and then you get liver cirrhosis, and then the last 5 years of your life are just complete pain and misery and just staving off death, even though there's really no point in living. That's certainly not what we would advocate on Text Messages, the Resurrection. So that's why it's just a good idea, short-term and long-term, to be a healthy person. And according to neurologists, having a good social lifestyle definitely feeds it. Now a lot of people, they'll get girlfriends, get kids, and then disappear off the face of the earth. But nowadays, with social media being available to anyone on basically every continent, every square foot of the planet, there's really no excuse for that anymore. I mean, yeah, it's important to raise a family and to be a good provider and a wife and a husband and all that good fun stuff too. But according to neurologists, it's also good to maintain a social lifestyle. See, being sociable boosts the effect of brain building activity, because you have to involve various brain functions: face recognition, memory, focus, attention, listening, processing, and language skills. It stimulates emotions essential for motivation and helps find life's purpose. So, I mean, for a lot of people, their purpose is to be a husband, or to be a worker, or to be a provider, or to be a family person. But it is ultimately important, because all of those things are benefited from having a good, healthy social life. So, I mean, if you just sit around, if you go to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and then just sit around and do absolutely nothing the rest of the day and don't have any friends and don't ever leave your house, you're gonna lead a pretty mundane existence, and then you can be as healthy as you want, but there's still, the motivation is just gonna wane over time, because you really begin to question what your purpose is and what your meaning is. But that's why a lot of people find it hard to quit their jobs, because that is what connects them to a good social life. So I mean, as long as you maintain a pretty good social life outside of work and with the people at work too, it's just going to be a 360 win all around. I mean, it'll be better for you, it'll be better for them, it'll be better for your family, it'll be better for your communities, it'll be better for the public access channel if you decide to run a talk show that airs on the public access channel. So I mean, neurologists encourage a social lifestyle. The science proves it. And it's probably not quackery science either. It definitely makes sense. I mean, even if I'm just walking around and then you meet somebody and you talk to them, you just feel better. You can't explain in a tangible sense why you feel better. I mean, yeah, maybe you can say, oh, the dopamines light up in this part of your brain. But ultimately, you just feel better. You feel like it's the right thing to do. And that's what humans are. We're social creatures. We talk to each other. We engage in communication. It's pretty simple, actually. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us once again. We hope we're not wasting your time. Pretty soon we will hook up. Try to hook up a microphone pretty soon. Just got to get a USB repeater, and then hopefully that'll make the show great again. So we thank you very much for joining us once again, and we appreciate it. And Have a good one.